Part 129. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1291. Hatalong Tower? Is it also a prize? Wu Yu was slightly surprised. He had some memories of the dragon and knew what kind of existence the Hatalong Tower was. In short, this is somewhat similar to the ancient emperor's palace. It is a place of preaching. It is also somewhat similar to the Tao Dharma Demon Palace that Wu Yu once obtained. In the Hatalong Tower, there are countless wills of the Shenlong clan, including their Tao, their explanations, and their demonstrations. And they left behind countless divine dragon and immortal magic. Those who are destined to enter it to practice and receive guidance from their ancestors will gain huge rewards. Nowadays, most of the top divine dragons have trained in the Hatalong Tower. It is a place that lays an important foundation for them. Moreover, the Hatalong Tower stipulates that you can only enter once in a lifetime. Most divine dragons never get the chance to enter the Hatalong Tower. Basically, those who enter will undergo huge transformations after coming out. In just a few hundred years, there are many who have improved several levels in terms of realm. There are limited places in the Hatalong Tower, so it is extremely important for the entire Shenlong clan, especially the young people, to be able to obtain the qualification for the Hatalong Tower when they are young. It is definitely an opportunity to reach the sky in one step. It will not only help to achieve a breakthrough in realm, but will also have a significant impact on the endless path of cultivation in the future. Lay a solid foundation and establish the right direction for the future. Basically, with the trial opportunity of Hatalong Tower, it can be said that other rewards are somewhat overshadowed. Although those rewards are all valuable treasures that can only be obtained at the level of World Lord God realm. Luo Concubine also told these treasures together. After the decisive battle, the 5th to 10th place will have the opportunity to practice the 500 years in the Hatalong Tower. There will also be a Creation Immortal artifact. A Creation Immortal Talisman, a Creation Immortal Pill level Creation God 3 pills, some fairy spirits, fairy treasures, and some fairy treasures. Wu Yu now knows that when the size of the internal magic array of the Immortal Formation exceeds 10 million, it is the Ancient Immortal Formation. For example, the one in the Immortal Light Dragon Sword is the Ancient Immortal Formation. When the scale reaches the limit, exceeding 100 million, it is called the World God Array. That is a level that Wu Yu cannot rely on now. It is said that each World God Array can become a world and can accommodate 100 million magic circles. There are various types of World God Arrays. Among them, the Weapon Refining World God Array forges immortal weapons, integrates them into the immortal weapons, assists with the immortal treasure materials of more than 1,000 spiritual patterns, and then forges them over thousands or tens of thousands of years. Can create the immortal weapon of good fortune. Compared with the ancient immortal weapons, the immortal artifacts of creation are not at the same level at all. The immortal artifacts of creation have the power of their own world, and between offense and defense, it is like the creation of heaven and earth. The alchemy realm divine formation incorporates elixirs and is refined from fairy materials with thousands of spiritual patterns. It also requires a lot of time to refine various creation elixirs. Among them, the creation pill is one of them. The creation pill can help the growth of the autonomous world and can also help open up the autonomous world. The immortal talisman of good fortune also has hundreds of millions of magical formations. Ordinary immortals can annihilate the top mysterious immortals if they possess it. The rewards for just the 5th to 10th place players are so amazing, but what about the top 4? The top 4 all need to be determined in a decisive battle, and each one is very shining. Luo Ben also showed envy in her eyes and said, the 4th place is slightly better than the other 6, and has the opportunity to practice for 1,000 years in the Hatalong Tower. There is also a copy of the immortal artifact of creation. 2 immortal talismans of creation. 3 creation elixir level creation elixirs, some immortal spirits, immortal treasures, but the quality of their creation elixirs will be better. Compared with other promotions, the fourth place mainly received 500 more years of Hadalong Tower, and other rewards were similar. Mainly because the fourth place loser in 2 consecutive decisive battles is actually a loser. The third place is a bit more. The cultivation time of Hadalong Pagoda has been increased to 2,000 years. There are 3 immortal talismans of creation and 1 divine spell of world. The level of the divine elixir of creation, 5, including 3 creation elixirs. The World God Immortal Technique is a top-level immortal technique that can only be practiced in the realm of the World Lord God. Its power is of course even more terrifying. Only the top 3 will be rewarded. Where are the immortal artifacts of creation? Is there any in the 3rd chapter? Wu Yu asked for advice. Luo Ben said, the 3rd place of the immortal weapon of creation has been announced. It is, Thunder Beat of Instant Sky. It has more than 200 million magic circles. It can summon many thousands of spiritual patterns and the immortal thunder to kill the enemy. It is the magical artifact that many people long for. What about 2nd place? It's even more powerful. There are more creation elixirs, creation talismans, and world gods. The cultivation time of Hadalong Pagoda is 4,000 years, and the creation celestial weapons have also been announced. They are the heavenly treasures of more than 300 million magic circles. The will of sound can emit the sound of annihilating immortal gods, and can kill all living beings. If a magical weapon of this level is brought to the mortal world, a single note can cause the death of all living beings in the world. Wu Yu was startled. It was really terrible. No wonder so many people went crazy for the Dragon Emperor's purgatory trial. Although, Wu Yu was still not interested. Because this was too high profile, it would make things difficult for him and Luo Ben. His goal was to find out who was waiting for him in Dragon Emperor Purgatory. Now, only number 1 remains. Luo Ben said directly, the winner of the 2-game winning streak in the final decisive battle will be able to create 10 immortal talismans and 3 world divine immortal techniques. Level of creation divine pills, 10, including 5 creation divine pills. Hadalong Tower. The training opportunity is the upper limit for all divine dragons to stay in Hadalong Tower, which is 10,000 years. Even the dragon emperors actually only stay in Hadalong Tower for 10,000 years. 10,000 years, huge gains, is already the limit. It is rumored that after 10,000 years, after coming out, if you enter at the peak of Tianxian, you can come out at the peak of Xianxian. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. The sooner you get in, the better. Regarding the champion's immortal weapon reward, I think this name may have something to do with your floating tower, because it is called floating sword. According to legend, it was forged by a top immortal named Floating Immortal King in ancient times. It is said to have the power to tear through the space of the 8,000 heavenly palaces and can cut through everything. It contains the 500 million magic circle. Many dragon lords want it. Fusion Immortal King? Fusion Sword. Wu Yu was a little stunned. Because the name is indeed very similar to the Fusion Tower. The Floating Life Tower has not yet allowed him to truly recognize its master. Wu Yu now possesses all the ancient immortal weapons. Could it be that the Floating Life Tower is actually an immortal weapon of good fortune? Is it the same level as this floating sword? The voice from Dragon Emperor Purgatory. Champion reward, 10,000-year-old Hadalong Tower, various elixirs and talismans, and the floating sword. All of this is attracting Wu Yu, allowing him to participate in the trial of the Dragon Emperor Purgatory in the dark. That voice in particular was very important to Wu Yu. Next, Luo Ben explained many details to Wu Yu clearly. For example, competitors. It is said that the 3 people selected by our fairy world this time are almost the weakest among all the participants. Of course, my uncle is ranked 87 among the dragon kings of the 100 realms. This is also because the fairy world is generally less powerful than other realms. That's why we only have 3 quotas this time. In fact, those big realms, such as the first realm of the Tianxing clan and the Tianyi realm, it is said that the quotas were just decided a few days ago, and there are a total of 19 people participating in the battle. That's several times better than us. There are estimated to be more than 600 participants in the entire Tianxing clan. Among them, the lowest realm is Erhe Xianxian, which is the realm of Yu Menyuan. There are only 4 or 5 in total. For example, Xingling, among the 600, is also even in the last 20 or so. Yes, Xuanyi is not much better, so you can actually tell that my uncle didn't put his mind on Dragon Emperor Purgatory, and he was also powerless, because the fairy world is just a little bit right now. Green and yellow don't pick up. Now our divine dragon in the fairy world can hardly raise his head when he walks outside. Although his ranking is still 87, he may have dropped to 95 or later. Of course, my uncle Wu Jun is actually very good in his own strength. Among the dragon kings of the fairy world, he can be ranked in the middle. Wu Yu probably understands. He is thinking. What's going on? Little rascal, have you made up your mind? Luo Bin stretched out her finger, lifted his chin, and gave him a wink. Don't tease me, I'm a wild beast when I go crazy, Wu Yu said. I don't believe it. Huh, Wu Yu was angry, held her down and kissed her passionately. Then, he said, I have decided to go. I think if I don't go this time, I may always regret it. And I will never have the opportunity to enter the Dragon Emperor Purgatory in the future. Since God has given me this, I choose to accept the test. Moreover, with my special ability, I can become stronger faster in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. Of course Luo Bin knew what special thing he was talking about, which was swallowing. It was a battlefield. Now, it will always be difficult for Wu Yu to ponder in a peaceful environment, but on the battlefield, he is a predator and a nightmare. He will be stronger and faster than anyone else, and more terrifying than anyone else. Especially a place like Dragon Emperor's Purgatory, shrouded in death. That was the battlefield for the entire Tianxin tribe's boys and girls. I support you. Besides, you will be fine. Luo Bin hugged him into her arms. Wu Yu liked her embrace the most, it was soft, gentle, and warm. Don't be afraid. If you are too high profile, will our relationship be hindered? Luo Bin asked softly in his ear. Wu Yu thought for a while and said, I know, but it's not my style to be shy. We are not afraid of obstacles and can take advantage of them. The ancient emperor is dead, what else is impossible? How terrifying was the ancient emperor in his eyes. In that mortal world where people are called Tian Tian, Wu Yu grew up in the tiger's den of the ancient emperor. The ancient emperor stared at him, waiting to eat his flesh. In the end, it wasn't Wu Yu who ate his flesh. Then, when he comes to the heavenly palace, it is impossible for him to shrink from fear of this and that. He is a brave man. Accepting the challenge is his destiny and his desire. As for Luo Bai, what she likes is this restless, passionate, and rough person. So, she said, actually, I think so too. Practice silently with me here, that kind of life is not suitable for you. It will take a long time, you said, as long as you are in this heavenly palace, you can also become a top immortal, then between us, what's impossible? No matter what storms lie ahead. Join hands to fight. After reading the update, go visit Feng Qingyang's studio. Just search for this name on Doubao. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 1292. So, how do I discuss this with my uncle? This is a difficult question. Wu Yu had already expressed his lack of interest. Moreover, Wu Jun also said that as a human, participating in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory was a bit high profile, which might have a bad impact on their union. In the fairy world, even Yuzhao Dragon King, Xianyi Dragon King and others have to intervene, not to mention other dragons that are stronger than Wu Jun. There are even Dragon Emperor and Dragon Honor Society. Of course, it is unlikely that these two levels will manage Luo Bin. In particular, Wu Yu is indeed very outstanding, and there is a top fairy behind him. Wu Yu thought for a long time and said, in this case, let's start with my fairy behind me. Luo Bin's eyes lit up. In fact, Wu Yu did not lie. He said directly that there was a voice asking him to enter the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. After deciding, they went directly to find Bai Yin Dragon King and Bai Qin Dragon King. In Qinyin Palace. Call us out together, what's the matter? Ye Qianing asked with concern. Bai Yin Dragon King was not very happy, a little upset, feeling that he had disturbed their dragon making. Although they already had Luo Bin, they still hoped to have a biological child, after all, the more the better. Of course, they have been working hard for so many years. Luo Bin said, adoptive father, adoptive mother, Wu Yu has a decision and wants to talk to you about it. Can uncle come? What is it that still needs to trouble my eldest brother? Bai Yin Dragon King frowned. The child has something to do, just do it. Ye Qianing glared at him. Okay, he should still be there, come with me to find him. The four of them went to the Xianling main peak together. The Xianling Dragon Palace there is the core of this fairy world. Wu Jun is indeed still here. He is alone in the Xianling main peak. For so many years, he has no interest in marrying a wife and has lived a hard and old-fashioned life. Because of this, he is stronger than Wu Hao and became the Dragon King of the Immortal Realm. In fact, they are about the same age. Wu Jun was actually very happy to see their family coming over. Of course, he knew something was wrong. Wu Hao said, Wu Yu, just say whatever you think. Everyone is here. They guessed that it might be a matter between Wu Yu and Luo Bin. Wu Yu was very respectful and said, Three elders, I want to enter the Dragon Emperor Purgatory in 7 years to participate in the trial. This was not what Wu Hao predicted he would say. He thought it had something to do with Luo Bin. Hearing this, he shook his head and said, didn't I tell you that first, it's not good for you to be too high profile, and second, the quota has been given to the 3 guys. And it was given in public, how can my brother regret it? He felt that Wu Yu's decision was a bit reckless. Of course, he was also a little anxious because he cared about the 2 little ones. Wu Hao, don't worry, listen to his reasons. Wu Jun stared at Wu Yu. Wu Yu nodded and said, something happened today. I suddenly heard someone whispering in my ear, asking me to go to the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. It was just this voice, and I couldn't find anyone. I think it might be the immortal who gave me the inheritance who told me. In the past, he seemed to have given me similar advice, and I got some good luck. When Wu Yu said this, the 3 of them looked serious and looked at each other. Didn't you feel the presence of others in Qinyin Palace? Wu Jun asked. Wu Hao and Ye Qianing looked at each other, then shook their heads. Ye Qianing said, I didn't feel anything at all. No one should be approaching, and if a top immortal came in, the Dragon Emperor and Dragon Lord would definitely know. In fact, Wu Yu knew that they had a very high position for their immortal behind them. At least Wu Jun might think that it should be stronger than him. That should be the realm of the Eternal Emperor Immortal. Only that realm can create an incredible super genius like Wu Yu. Then, he asked Wu Yu to enter the Dragon Emperor Purgatory for trial. Nothing else, and then complete communication is not okay, Wu Jun asked Wu Yu. Wu Yu nodded. They fell into deep thought. Maybe they were considering the risks. If this immortal had any intentions towards the Dragon Clan, they might be sinners. But this possibility was relatively small. Moreover, no immortal would use special means to deal with the Shenlong clan for the time being, because there was no need. Shenlong fairy beasts were also members of the 8,000 heavenly palaces. 8,000 heavenly palaces were so peaceful that no one would provoke an inexplicable battle. They valued Wu Yu, the immortal behind the scenes, and even respected him. After all, Wu Yu's performance really surprised them. You two go back first, and I will give you an answer in 3 days. They need to discuss and weigh. Okay. Also, please rest assured that after I go in, I will remember that I will never deliberately cause trouble. Wu Yu nodded and bowed. Then he and Luo Bin left first, allowing the three of them to discuss it clearly. He waited in Qinyin Palace. In fact, during this period, these old-timers should have seen through what kind of person Wu Yu is, so they still trust Wu Yu. The main assessment point is whether to take risks for Wu Yu. Because once you take this step, it is difficult to predict what will happen next. They will definitely let you in, Luo Bin said firmly. Why? Because they are good people. They like us and value us, so they are not afraid of trouble. Luo Bin has been here for a while, and she can feel that the couple is ecstatic about their desire for a daughter. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. Sure enough, 3 days later, the three of them summoned Wu Yu and the other two to the main peak of Xianling. As soon as they entered, Wu Jun nodded and said, I allow you to enter the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. However, you also need to remember that you must act cautiously and think more about Binner when making any decision. Wu Yu, the three of us like you very much, and we also think that you are her future. So, don't let her down. Wu Yu thanked them and said, Thank you three, it's not easy for me to stand with her at this moment. It can be said that I have gone through many ups and downs. I will definitely remember it. Very good. It is really convenient to talk to them. Wu Yu stood up, his face was happy, but thinking of one thing, he asked, Is it like this, Yu Menyuan will lose the qualification? In this case, will Yu Zhao Dragon King be dissatisfied? Will others have any opinions? He considered this. The three of them all laughed. Wu Jun said, To be honest, we actually have 5 places in the immortal spirit realm, but I took into account that there is really no talent available in the current Yuan generation, so I used 3 places. It saves the embarrassment of having 2 more people. I hope that adding you can help my immortal spirit realm regain some face. So that's it? Even if Wu Yu is included, there is actually 1 empty place, and he doesn't want to report it. Otherwise, the person who goes up is weaker than Yu Menyuan, and it is really embarrassing to go. After all, the ranking of each of the more than 600 people is quite clear. Of course, it is embarrassing to be ranked last. There are still 7 years, you should prepare well. With your potential, you can become much stronger in 7 years. Many of your competitors may be 9-in-1 profound immortals or even Realm Lord God Realm Wu Hao said. He really loves face. Wu Yu said, I'd better figure out why I was asked to go to Dragon Emperor Purgatory. I'd better not be too high profile about the competition. Ye Qianing said, That's true. Don't listen to your Uncle Hao. He just loves face and wants you to get into the top 10 so that he can have some capital to show off. Just follow your own plan. Go, don't talk nonsense in front of the children, Wu Hao said with a straight face. Wu Yu and Luo Bin both laughed. In fact, Wu Hao is quite cute. He likes art, likes cooking, loves his wife, loves face, and lives an interesting life. Of course, Wu Jun is not bad either. Although he is strict, he is vigorous and decisive. He said what he said. Wu Yu had this request, so he still got it for Wu Yu. Next, Wu Yu has 7 years to prepare. Of course, for immortals, 7 years is actually very short and disappears in the blink of an eye. Wu Yu spent a lot of effort to ponder the last few levels of the Bodhi Immortal Dao method and the 9-phase Tathagata Supreme Buddha. After all, among the strong men he devoured now, the strongest ones were the 2 Lianshen clan dragons, and they were not too strong. With their comprehension ability, it was a little difficult, so they needed more long-term practice and attempts. Luo Bin was also trying to become stronger. She didn't want to be left too far behind by Wu Yu. Although she didn't say it again, it was obvious in her heart that she still wanted to be able to keep up with him as much as possible. Because Wu Yu had tried so hard to catch up with her before. For her, love is mutual giving, and she didn't want to enjoy it alone. Wu Yu and she practiced in seclusion together. 7 years. 7 years of close contact. In these 7 years, Wu Yu was happy and satisfied. Occasionally, he would leave the immortal Dragon Emperor realm and even return to the ancient Mo world to see the progress of Wu Yu and the others. Take Nanshan Wanjiao and the others out to relax. Go buy some materials. Of course, most of the time was spent on cultivation. 7 years of sprinting. Finally, with limited comprehension ability, he still raised the Bodhi Immortal Dao method to the 9th level at an extremely terrifying speed, and succeeded completely. At the same time, the Thunder World Realm, Dark World Realm and Light World Realm were all condensed successfully, and the 9-phase Tathagata Supreme Buddha body was completely perfected. Both immortal methods were cultivated to a complete state. Of course, because there was no more swallowing, it took a lot of time to absorb the immortal energy and refine it, and occasionally assist with some immortal pills. Now, he is strong enough to think that he is perfect, and in the next realm, he will become a Xianxian. However, this also requires all the previous Dao to be integrated into one, which is temporarily unsuccessful, and he needs to continue to settle down, so before the Dragon Emperor Purgatory, cultivating to this level is already the limit. Luo Bin also successfully entered the 2-element Celestial Immortal. In fact, Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi also have the opportunity to become 2-element Celestial Immortals. Of course Yezixi is a 2-element Celestial Ghost. Wu Yu is a real 9-element Celestial Immortal. Of course, his current fighting power is beyond the reach of ordinary Xianxian. Then, the Dragon Emperor Purgatory battle began. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1293. Dragon Emperor Purgatory is actually a prison. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward arrow. Inside, prisoners of the Shenlong clan are imprisoned. Moreover, they are basically prisoners who have been sentenced to death by Shenlong. Some are immortals, some are ghosts and gods. A large part of them are Shenlong. They have committed serious crimes, killed their compatriots, and betrayed their partners. The Shenlong clan has a long history. There are many immortals who have offended and killed Shenlong. Even the number of people inside is still increasing. And every 1,000 years, the Dragon Emperor Purgatory will be opened once, allowing the Shenlong juniors to go in for trials. Each of the 9 Shenlong clans will have one trial. The last time it was the Tianxing clan's turn was 9,000 years ago. This time, there are still 7 years before it starts. There are 3 places in the immortal spirit realm. Today is to decide who will get these 3 places. Now these 3 are all newcomers. 9,000 years ago, they had not participated. Moreover, they are all sons of the Dragon King, and they are all under 20,000 years old. In fact, those under the age of 1 UN meet the requirements. There are very few top geniuses under the age of 1 UN in the fairy world. It is estimated that after a few more 9,000 years, when Yes Wanyi and others are close to 129,600 years old, they will have the strength close to the realm of the Master God, and they may be able to compare with the geniuses of other realms. For other dragons, it is good enough to cultivate to the level of Xianxian in 1 UN time. Wu Yu is not particularly clear about the details of the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. However, since the Dragon King of the fairy world has already announced the candidates for participation, and Wu Yu does not want to cause trouble. He came here mainly to be with Luo Bin, so he does not need to understand. He put this matter aside. Because next, he has another thing to do. Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi both have to go through the great calamity of the immortal way and the great calamity of the ghost way. In this immortal dragon emperor realm, there are dragons everywhere, which is not very suitable. He has the immortal dragon emperor order and is ready to go to the dragon god heaven to help them pass the tribulation and become immortals. Complete the most important step. Wu Hao and Ye Qianing only allowed Wu Yu to stay in Qinyin Palace. Wu Yu didn't want them to know that he brought others with him. The tribulation was quite noisy, so of course he chose to go out and find a hidden place. However, there is no need to be particularly anxious. Wu Yu and Luo Bin have agreed that he will go out in 10 days. Anyway, Luo Bin still needs to grow up slowly. Wu Hao was in a very cheerful mood. This time when he returned to Qinyin Palace, he made a more delicious meal. He was afraid that he knew that Wu Yu consumed a lot, so the dishes were very nourishing. Then, he took out the hidden ancient spirit wine again, but this time, Wu Yu drank well, because the immortal spirit realm dragon king Wu Jun came, and basically they brothers were lively enough. Brother, I really envy you. You have a child, and now you have a son-in-law, but I am still alone. Wu Jun looked at Luo Bin, and then at Wu Yu, and he was so envious. Ye Qianing said, brother, you didn't want her, so you gave her to us. Don't regret it now. It turned out that Luo Bin was sent to Wu Jun for Wu Jun to arrange. Wu Jun didn't have time to teach Luo Bin, so he asked Ye Qianing to be her master, but Ye Qianing directly accepted her as his adopted daughter. Wu Jun regretted that he didn't find this routine at the beginning. Uncle, we are all family, and Binner will also respect you. Luo Bin was very well behaved here, which surprised Wu Yu. She had been the dragon lord of the four seas for so many years, and she was domineering. Now she came to the immortal dragon emperor realm and met these top dragon kings, and she could also show her identity. After all, these dragon kings are hundreds of thousands of years old, and it is normal to respect them. Pinner is still good at talking. She makes me happy. Come on, drink. Let's not stop until we are drunk today. No, drink less, I don't have much time left. Wu Hao was actually already drunk. You stingy guy, drink your wine, it's not like you're going to die, take it out. The two of them were old, but they were still fighting together. However, it can be seen that they were really happy. After eating and drinking, Wu Jun patted Wu Yu on the shoulder and said, you also know about the Dragon Emperor Purgatory, right? In fact, it is a very good trial, which is of great help to every young person. It is also what young people desire most. Today you defeated Ye Xuanyi. If I announced your qualification to replace Yu Menyuan, no one would object. However, I did not do so. Do you know why? Wu Yu nodded and said, because, as an immortal, I am too annoying in there, and then everyone will find out my origin and identity, and know my relationship with Luo Bin. Because she is the ultimate dragon, too many top dragon kings, even the dragon emperor, know about this matter, which is not good for us and adds a lot of difficulties to us. Wu Jun nodded and said, you are very smart. It is precisely because of this that Wu Yu is too lazy to care about the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. In fact, he has already conquered other dragons in the fairy world. Next, he needs to be low-key. Be low-key, cautious, make good use of the immortal inheritance, and you will have a bright future in the future. It is not difficult to surpass us. Wu Jun left after he finished speaking. Wu Hao was also drunk. You fought 3 games today and you're tired. Go back and rest, Ye Qianing said with concern. Okay, Antning. I'll go too. Lupin followed Wu Yu back to his residence. The two walked on the corridor. Today, I was very nervous. I almost thought it was going to be bad. Lupin took a deep breath and said. I didn't expect the Dragon King of the Immortal Realm to be so good. I'm really relieved that you're here. The people who protected her were indeed very strong and powerful. In the future. Now, it was as if they had completed the goal they had set in the mortal world, and the two could be together openly. Let's work together and keep working hard. Wu Yu hugged her. The future was so bright and beautiful. One day, you will become the Dragon King, and I will become the Immortal King, or even a stronger existence, and we will dominate the world. Just like my adoptive father and mother. Thinking about it, it was really happy. Wu Yu had rested for a few days. Today, a big meal restored a lot of his consumption in the battle, and Luo Ben continued to go to Qianlong Peak for classes. Now her friends asked her about Wu Yu every day. In Qianlong Peak, Wu Yu was now a famous person. Everything was ready here, so Wu Yu explained to Wu Hao, Ye Qianing, and others that he would be out for a while. Everyone had some things of their own, and Wu Hao certainly didn't ask about this privacy, and Wu Yu didn't want to take Luo Ben away. Wu Yu is not a dragon after all, so it is normal for him to come in and out in the future. After saying goodbye to Luo Ben, Wu Yu went to the exit of Longshenchen. This time, he didn't need to look for it everywhere. There was a passage leading to the exit directly in the fairy world. Entering the passage, there was a river. Wu Yu drifted down the river. At the end, there was a waterfall behind him. He fell from the waterfall and arrived at Longshenchen. He appeared behind the Emperor Realm Palace of the Golden Fate Dragon City in Longshenchen. In front of the Emperor Realm Palace was the entrance to the Immortal Dragon Emperor Realm. There was an inspection when entering, but it was not too strict when leaving. However, Wu Yu, a human, came out directly from inside, but was still stopped by a dragon in the Xianxian realm. Wu Yu took out the Immortal Dragon Emperor Order. Immortal Dragon Emperor Order, the dragon was startled and took a closer look. Wu Yu's name was written on it, and he could see Wu Yu's appearance. He could confirm that it was him. He quickly let him go with a very respectful attitude. There are still many immortals who have the Immortal Dragon Emperor Order and can enter and exit freely. After coming out of Dragon God Heaven, Wu Yu quickly left the Golden Fate Dragon City. He flew to a remote place on his somersault cloud. Nanshan Wanjiao and the others were also ready. It had been several days since they arrived at the edge of Dragon God Heaven. This place was too far from Golden Fate Dragon City, and the fairy spirit was average. It was very difficult to go to other 8,000 heavens, so there were few dragons here, and there were mountains and abysses everywhere. Wu Yu turned into the divine locust and swept his body over a large area, but did not find any dragons or other creatures. It's okay, he chose a deep, uninhabited valley and asked Nanshan Wanjiao and Yezixi to come out. Wow! Finally out? The outside world is so wonderful. Those beautiful fairies have been waiting for me for a long time. Nanshan Wanjiao was looking forward to it. Finally, there was hope of becoming an immortal. For him, that was a big hurdle. These 8,000 heavens, with countless beautiful fairies, made him greedy. If he hadn't been weak enough to leave Wu Yu for the time being, he would have run away long ago. Staying in the floating life tower, life would be meaningless. But Yezixi couldn't walk in the heavenly palace, and she didn't want to leave Wu Yu. Now, she could only continue to practice in Wu Yu's floating life tower and continue to become stronger. Who starts first? Wu Yu asked. Nanshan Wanjiao said, of course I'll do it. Let me show you a demonstration first. Be careful that the immortal calamity will kill you. Look at how many people you have ruined. You will be punished by heaven soon. Yezixi glared at him. Meow, the lazy cat also called. Nanshan Wanjiao smiled and said, what do you know? My principle is never to force others. Those beauties took the initiative to throw themselves into my arms because of my handsomeness. This is not a sin. I am bringing happiness to these beauties. This is a merit. Nanshan Wanjiao started proudly. Wu Yu created many clones to be alert around. There were still many movements in the immortal path tribulation. It would be bad if it attracted others, because some people still had bad intentions and liked to destroy. Wu Yu himself had not experienced the immortal path tribulation, but he knew how powerful it was. Soon, it began under Wu Yu's gaze. In fact, Nanshan Wanjiao was still a little nervous. But Wu Yu estimated that he was not in big trouble. Yezixi looked even more nervous. The tribulation of ghost cultivators in general would be stronger. It started. The immortal path tribulation was wind, fire, and thunder, all at the same time. One wave after another, much more terrible than the previous 3 disasters. Beside him, a blade-like wind blew. In his body, a fire that devoured his internal organs was born. In the sky, thunder bombarded. If they could not become immortals, their end would be to be directly reduced to ashes. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1294. The Dragon Emperor Purgatory gathers all the Dragon Kings and powerful Dragon Kings from the Tianxing clan, one of the 9 major clans of the dragons, to watch the disputes between the genius dragons under the age of 1 yuan. Only Dragon Lord and above are barely qualified to watch the battle. Dragons at the level of Celestial Immortal and Mysterious Immortal have to wait and see. Only those of high status and accompanied by elders can go and observe. Therefore, Luo Bin will certainly follow. She was naturally concerned about Wu Yu. After all, she didn't know what the Dragon Emperor's purgatory voice was. In the past 7 years, the popularity of the Dragon Emperor's purgatory trial has gradually increased. In the fairy world, people discuss it everywhere. However, ordinary Shenlong didn't know that Wu Jun had already signed up for Wu Yu. Therefore, they were still talking about Xuanyi, Yu Menyuan and Xin Ling. When the lists of other realms came out, comparing their strength, the dragons in the fairy world actually lost a little confidence. Because, the lineup of the fairy world this time is too weak. There are even 2 in 1 Xianxian. Among the neighboring realms, the lowest one should be the Saihe Xianxian, and I heard that the Saihe Xianxian has successfully reached the rank of Wuhe Xianxian in the past 7 years. The weakest one is stronger than the strongest one in the fairy world. There is no comparison with the top 10 realms, and those realms often have a dozen or 20 people participating in the battle. This quota allocation is based on historical performance. Every time, the ranking of the Dragon Emperor Immortal formation is clearly listed. Those at the top are majestic, while those at the bottom are ridiculed and humiliated. Just like this, fearing that the fairy world will be humiliated again, as this day comes, the dragons in the fairy world are worried, and some even choose to retreat to avoid this storm, so as not to be ridiculed after they get out. However, we still had to bite the bullet and fight hard, so on this day, all the participants and spectators went to the main peak of the fairy spirit, gathered here, and then led by Wu Jun to the Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza. There is the core location of the Tianxing clan. Underneath the Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza is the famous Dragon Emperor Purgatory. Of course, it is one of the entrances to Dragon Emperor Purgatory. Dragon Emperor Purgatory is quite huge and boundless. Wu Hao, Ye Qianing, Wu Yu and Luo Bin were basically at Wu Jun's place early in the morning. We haven't seen each other for 7 years and you have made so much progress. Wu Jun felt the powerful changes in Wu Yu as soon as they met. Although Wu Yu is still an immortal, he has basically completed the immortal realm. Wu Hao was a little proud and said, "I'm just saying, this kid is not simple, maybe he can really make a name for himself in Dragon Emperor Purgatory." Ye Qianing said, "That's not important. What's important is to complete his own affairs. Wu Yu, don't listen to your Uncle Hao's nonsense. This time among the participants in our fairy world, the other 3 are indeed relatively poor. You Uncle Hao loves face and doesn't want to lose badly, so he always hints at you, but it has nothing to do with you, don't listen to his nonsense." Wu Hao could only laugh. Their relationship as a couple is really great. Wu Jun also nodded and said, "That's right, focus on your own affairs. Everything else is imaginary." Wu Yu nodded and said, "Well, I know what I know." It was indeed best, he thought, to keep a low profile. In order for him and Luo Ben to be together in a low-key manner. After 7 years of staying together, Wu Yu and her have become like family members, with a tacit understanding in every move. Next, other Dragon Kings and Dragon Lords who were willing to accompany and watch the battle came. There are dozens of Dragon Kings in the fairy world, and they will basically never be absent. There are more than 200 relatively top realm masters, divine realm Dragon Kings, who also go back to support the show. Wu Yu also saw the Xuanhuan Dragon Lord. He is still Luo Ben's revered master, but now, he doesn't care about messing around. The number of people gradually arrived. Dragon King Yuzhao arrived belatedly with his precious son Yu Menyuan. However, the Star Domain Dragon King with Xingling, and the Xianyi Dragon King with Xuanyi arrived later, probably because they had more time to prepare. Everyone is here. Wu Jun glanced at Xuanyi. At this time, Xuanyi was upright, full of fairy spirit, and quite confident. Not bad, he actually reached the Wuhe Xianxian realm in this short period of time. The other Dragon Kings took a look and found that Yexian had indeed made progress. Xianyi Dragon King's guidance is really good. In this way, we still have some hope in the fairy world. Maybe we can get a good result. It all depends on Xianyi. Hearing this, Dragon King Yuzhao was displeased and said, "Although my son is at a lower level, he is smart. In the Dragon Emperor's purgatory, it is not just about strength, intelligence is also important. I believe he will also have good results." Yu Menyuan smiled and said, "Don't worry, mother, I have been studying and preparing for many years and will never embarrass the fairy world." After hearing this, Xingling sneered and said nothing, but this was obviously a mockery. "Bibi," Yu Menyuan looked at him. "Okay, come out in a year and see who ranks higher." "No, maybe you won't last even a year," Yu Menyuan snorted coldly. "This hasn't even started yet, but there are internal conflicts, which is not a good sign. Because the other lower-ranked communities are more united. They don't seek personal honors, stick together, fight together, and distribute normally. Anyway, they burst out with very strong fighting power." Wu Jun also mentioned that they should join forces to fight after arriving in Dragon Emperor's purgatory. However, looking at the state of these three people, they were conflicting with each other. It was obvious that they would go their separate ways soon. Wu Jun looked serious and said, "This is not a trivial matter. The face of our fairy world is on you four. Don't let your face fall to the ground and be stepped on by others. Please rest assured, Dragon King of the fairy world, they can do it," said the Dragon King Xianyi. The other Dragon Kings also said a few words, and they still cheered up the young people. "Wait, 4, the Dragon King Yuzhao was stunned and asked, "Isn't it 3? Why are there 4? Wu Jun pointed at Wu Yu and said, "We have 5 places, but the others are even weaker, so we only selected 3. Wu Yu's combat power is good, and he can win glory for my fairy world. I let him go. As my apprentice." What? Everyone didn't expect it at all, so they were a little stunned for a while. Of course, Wu Yu's strength is indeed guaranteed. He defeated Xuanyi cleanly 7 years ago. But, he is a human after all. The Dragon King Yuzhao might not be willing. Wu Jun's eyes swept over her and said, "Even the 100th World Dragon King Tianyi Dragon King allowed him to participate in the war. Do you have any objections?" Yuzhao Dragon King was shocked and said quickly, "Of course not. I also think Wu Yu is good. He will definitely get good results." She shuddered in her heart. Wu Yu's participation in the war did not affect her son's quota, so she should not have raised any objections. She regretted her subconscious action just now. This time, the Dragon Emperor Purgatory was hosted by the Tianyi World Dragon King, who ranked first among the 100 World Dragon Kings of the Tianxin clan. Tianyi Dragon King is the son of the Tianxin Dragon King, one of the 9 Dragon Emperors of the Shenlong clan, and has a supreme status in the Tianxin clan. He has reviewed and approved the list, so it is useless for Yuzhao Dragon King to say anything. Both are Dragon Kings, but compared with Yuzhao Dragon King and Tianyi Dragon King, one is in the sky and the other is on the ground. No one said anything more, but just looked at Wu Yu a few more times. One of them had a particularly fiery look. Wu Yu saw that it was Xuanhuan. Wu Yu, it's a good thing that you joined the battle, otherwise there would be no chance to compare. This time, I will crush you in the trial and let you see who is the number one in the fairy world, Xuanyi said calmly. What's the point of being the number one in the fairy world? You are arrogant if you have the guts to take the number one of the Tianxin clan. Wu Yu smiled. Since he became the swallowing beast, the defeated general is unlikely to have the opportunity to fight me again. Xuanyi thought that after entering the Wuhi Xianxian, he had an extra ancient fairy mark of Tao, so he could compare with Wu Yu. Let's wait and see. Because of Wu Yu's existence, the three of them huddled together. Anyway, they didn't want to lose to Wu Yu again. Let's go. Under the leadership of Wu Jun, a team of several hundred people in the fairy world, many dragons flew in the air, heading towards the vast Dragon Emperor Supreme Square. There were dragons all around, and Wu Yu was the only human. Especially those Dragon Kings, they were huge and magnificent. Wu Yu was like a tiny person beside Luo Bin. In this world of dragons, he was indeed insignificant. Will you be nervous? Luo Bin asked with concern. Not really. Wu Yu was just curious, whose voice was so attractive to him. You must come out alive, I'm waiting for you outside, Luo Bin said gently. Of course, with a beauty like you, if I die in there, wouldn't it be a bargain for others? Don't talk nonsense, if it weren't for you, no one would be able to get me, Luo Bin said. I was just joking, don't be nervous, it's okay. Wu Yu knew that her concern was actually her nervousness. After all, she had experienced this kind of fear. As a man, Wu Yu swore that he would never let the ancient emperor's incident happen again. When the delegation of the immortal realm was heading to the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square, the delegations of the other 100 realms were also heading there. For a moment, all the super powerful people of the Tianxin clan gathered in one direction and headed for the center. Look! So many Dragon Kings! I'm so envious. I want to go to the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square, too. Practice hard. One day, we brothers will be able to do it. Along the way, many dragons raised their heads and looked at the huge Dragon Kings flying by in the sky with envy. Such eyes can be seen everywhere in the Tianxin clan. Getting closer and closer. Indistinctly, other huge teams can also be seen heading in the same direction. The Dragon Emperor Supreme Square should be large enough to accommodate so many Dragon Kings and Dragon Lords. This is basically where the dragons hold grand events. We're almost there. Wu Yu vaguely saw that there was a huge mirror in front of him, which was a bit like the one UN Immortal Dragon battlefield magnified 1,000 times. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1295. The snow-white mirror had a dazzling light, forming a beam of light that pierced the sky. There were high steps on all 4 sides of the mirror, and on those steps were the thrones of the Dragon Kings and Dragon Lords. Under the mirror was the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. This was the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square. Although he hadn't arrived yet, Wu Yu had already seen that there were already many top-level dragons on the high platforms around, sitting on honorable seats. Many dragons, who hadn't seen each other for a long time, were now greeting and chatting. So many Dragon Kings and Dragon Lords were all from the Taixu Fairyland and the Realm Lord Divine Realm, all of which Wu Yu could not touch for the time being. The scene was simply spectacular. And Wu Yu knew that these powerful immortals were everywhere in the 8,000 heavenly palaces. The heavenly palace was really huge. It was not only a gathering of countless immortals from the mortal worlds, both large and small, in space, but also a gathering of historical time. In this Dragon Emperor Supreme Square, the territory of the immortal realm, which ranks 87th, is obviously not too big. Wu Yu has seen other teams, and the Dragon Kings alone have nearly 100 or even 200 people. And at this moment, above Wu Yu's head, a black mass of dragons passed by. Looking up, this large team has at least 2,000 dragons, most of which are dragon lords of the realm Lord God realm, but the number of dragon kings of the Taigzu fairyland is more than 10 times that of the immortal realm. How can there be such a large team? Wu Yu asked Wu Hao. This is two realms gathered together, one ranked second and the other ranked third. What do you think? Wu Hao's face darkened instantly when he saw the team. He seemed to hate these two teams. If it were two teams, it would be understandable, and one ranked second and the other ranked third, second only to the heavenly Will realm, so it should be normal to have such a scale. Wu Yu was thinking about it, when suddenly a teasing voice came from the group of flying dragons above his head. Hey, isn't this the dragon without descendants, the ancient fairy dragon? While speaking, these numerous dragons, which are 10 times the number of the fairy world group, fell from the sky and all intercepted in front of the fairy world dragons. The huge team was really suffocating. Hundreds of dragon kings, more than 1,000 dragon lords, were all huge dragons. Wu Yu was just here in his body, and he was really shocked. The key is that the other party seems to be targeting the fairy world. The other party called Wu Jun, Wu Hao, and others dragon without descendants, which means that they have no descendants. This is obviously a sarcasm. It ridicules Wu Hao and Ye Qianing for not having children for so many years. But the question is, how can the small fairy world conflict with the huge world rank second and third? Wu Yu saw that Wu Jun, Wu Hao, Ye Qianing, and many other dragon kings all looked unhappy, but some, such as Ye Zhao Dragon King, were still a little scared. If it weren't for their face, they would have avoided the other party when they were intercepted in front of them. Wu Yu looked at the team in front. First of all, the most terrifying ones were of course the 200 world's dragon kings. One ranked second and the other ranked third. This seemed to be the same kind of dragon. Wu Yu took a closer look and found that it was a bit similar to the ancient fairy dragon. They were all pure white, pure, like jade, and surrounded by fairy spirit, but this kind of dragon had more domineering spirit than the ancient fairy dragon, and was sharper. Obviously, it had more killing methods and was born to be supreme. He searched his memory from the two dragons of the refining god clan, and finally knew that it seemed that the Tianxin Dragon Emperor of the Tianxin clan was a top-level ultimate dragon, named Eternal Tianxin Dragon, and was one of the 9 supreme dragons of the Dragon clan. The Eternal Tianxin Dragon is very rare, and the Tianxin clan only has the Tianxin Dragon Emperor. The Tianxin Dragon Emperor has 3 descendants, 2 boys and 1 girl. All of them were born by the Tianxin Dragon Emperor, but their bloodline is a little inferior to that of the Tianxin Dragon Emperor. They are all ancient immortal dragons. This kind of dragon is indeed very similar to the ancient immortal dragon, but one is overbearing and the other is ethereal. The 2 huge and overbearing dragons in front of them are the ancient immortal dragons, and the 100th World Dragon King Tianyi Dragon King that Wu Jun mentioned before is also an ancient immortal dragon. In other words, the 3 descendants of the Tianxin Dragon Emperor are all ancient immortal dragons, and they are the 100th World Dragon King, the 200th World Dragon King and the 300th World Dragon King respectively. There is no doubt that they are also the 3 strongest among the 100 World Dragon Kings. The 200th World Dragon King, named Tianying Dragon King, is a woman at this time. Her expression is cold and she did not speak. The Dragon King of the 300th World, named Tianyu Dragon King, was the one who just mocked the ancient fairy dragon as a dragon without descendants. Now it was also him who ordered the team to intercept Wu Jun, Wu Hao, and Ye Qianing. After these two dragon kings of the 100th world, there were a large number of other dragon kings and dragon monarchs. At this time, they all looked down on the fairy world. After all, the team of the fairy world seemed too thin. What do they want to do? Wu Jun frowned slightly. He probably didn't expect to meet them here. He was about to enter the venue. He said, "It turned out to be Tianyu Dragon King and Tianying Dragon King. I haven't seen you for many years. You two are still so outstanding. I admire you, but let's go into the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square and greet each other." Many dragons on the other side talked to each other, pointed at the fairy world, and laughed from time to time. It was obviously mocking the thinness of the fairy world, which was incomparable to their Tianying world and Tianyu world. And the Dragon King's gaze that day seemed to ignore Wu Jun and finally fell on Ye Qianing. "I'm talking about Ning it turns out that your vision was not good at the beginning. Wu Hao has been in this rubbish state for so many years. It's so miserable that he didn't even give you a son and a half. His ability in that area is really not good. Ah. It's too late to regret now. What a pity he couldn't help laughing with a mocking look, and the other dragon kings next to him were also laughing. Wu Yu finally understood, it turned out to be a love rival. It seems that when he was young, Tian Yulong King also liked Ye Qianing, but Ye Qianing chose Wu Hao. Even if he is the son of the Dragon Emperor, he cannot take anything by force or tear apart the people he loves. He is obviously holding his breath until now. After all, compared to other dragons, Ye Qianing is indeed beautiful, and the ancient immortal spirit dragon is more ethereal and beautiful. Among the divine dragons, they are considered to be the top bloodline. Wu Hao was extremely angry. After all, he was humiliated in person. However, Ye Qianing held him down. She and Wu Hao leaned together and said coldly, "Thank you to the Heavenly Dragon King for your concern, but my husband and I are living a good life and are happy. I'm afraid the Heavenly Dragon King can't feel this way. If you understand, you don't have to worry about it. In my eyes, my husband is the best man in the world, and no one can compare with him." The Heavenly Dragon King sneered and said, "Just continue to deceive yourself. Can Wu Hao, a loser, be able to block my blow now? Forget it if you are weak. It has been so many years since you two ancient immortal spirit dragons have been united. He doesn't even have a descendant, and he has no contribution to our Shenlong clan." He was indeed particularly proud. Wu Yu even saw a slightly smaller ancient immortal dragon next to him. He had a very indifferent attitude and was informal in his words and smiles, but his aura was so strong that he might have reached the realm Lord God realm. Obviously this should be he is the son of the Heavenly Dragon King. Generally, the participants in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory this time are all with the Dragon King of the 100 Realms. Wu Yu estimates that this small ancient immortal dragon may be a participant in this battle. After all, he has heard that the participants in this battle there is an existence in the realm of Boundary Lord God. The other participants in the battle are also obvious. After all, most of them are in the Xianxian realm. There are only 4 people in the fairy world, and the two teams combined are close to 40. The Yulong King had lost his love that day, so he might have crushed Wu Hao just to satisfy his cravings, so the Sky Shadow Dragon King next to him felt a little boring. But Wu Hao was indeed very angry after hearing this. In public, the words of the Heavenly Dragon King would obviously spread, and the dragon without a queen would simply make Wu Hao the laughing stock of the entire Shenlong clan. Luo Ben was also very angry. Wu Yu likes their family very much. They are so angry, but there is nothing they can do about it, and it is hard for Wu Yu to be happy. But it is undeniable that the opponent did crush Wu Hao in all aspects, whether it was origin, strength, or status. Wu Hao, you don't have to hold your head high. It's just that aspect that you're not good at. It's not a big deal. Tianyu, Can do it for you, Tianyu Dragon King said with a shameless smile. For a moment, everyone burst into laughter. More than 2,000 divine dragons were laughing in uproar. It was estimated that even the Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza heard it. Ye Qianning's face turned livid with anger, and she said angrily, I never expected that the majestic heavenly Dragon King would be such a shameless person. It's such an insult to gentleness. That's what I am. What do you do to me? Your good-for-nothing husband, dare to challenge me. Tianyu Dragon King looked at Wu Hao with disgust and sneered again and again. You, it was Ye Qianning who had been stopping Wu Hao before, but Wu Yu couldn't bear the humiliation. He roared and was about to rush towards the heavenly Yu Dragon King, but this time, it was Wu Jun held him down. You are not young anymore, so don't play with these young people's things. Tianyu Dragon King, don't let others look down on you. You are addicted to talking now. It is nothing more than venting your anger when you couldn't get Ye Qianning, no matter how much you powerful, even if you were defeated by my brother in this confrontation, your provocation with authority and strength today will only make us think you are despicable. You are the son of Tianxin Dragon Emperor, and we are not as good as you. If your excellency, if you really want to pursue it, let's compare it with your brothers and sisters. What's the point of bullying us? Wu Jun was quite tough, and his words were stinging, and Wu Yu was convinced when he heard them. Here, if you are provoked and take action, you are a fool. If the other party wants to talk too much, just use words to fight back. Sure enough, after Wu Jun finished speaking, the laughter of the more than 2,000 dragons stopped. What Wu Jun said was actually correct. Tianyu Dragon King was just unwilling to do so. Tianying Dragon King said, Okay, Tianyu, don't cause useless trouble, it has been so many years. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1296. The Tianyu Dragon King also stopped laughing, his face became cold, and he looked at Wu Jun with ferocious eyes. He was also the Dragon King of the 100 Realms. Wu Jun was definitely not his opponent, but his status was equal, even if he was the son of the Tianxin Dragon Emperor. And he has no right to do anything to Wu Jun. Suddenly, he saw Luo Bin. Ancient immortal spirit dragon, Tianyu Dragon King's eyes darkened. He felt a little bit slapped in the face. He had never heard when Ye Qianning was pregnant. However, Wu Jun has no Taoist companion. This ancient immortal spirit dragon Xiaolong must have been born from Ye Qian. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. A dragon king next to him stepped forward and quickly said a few words to the heavenly dragon king. The heavenly dragon king suddenly realized it and sneered. It turns out that ancient fairy dragons can emerge from that poor place in the mortal world. You are really smart. You immediately taking her as an adopted daughter will probably alleviate the pain of childlessness, haha. Many dragons set their sights on Luo Bin. The heavenly dragon king ignored the looks of others and said to Luo Bin, little guy, how about I be your adoptive father? I can give you something better, much better than your useless adoptive father. That is the fairy world. How can this barren land be compared to our heavenly royal realm? Yes, come to our Tianyu realm. When you grow up, we will have more young talents to choose from in the future. There is nothing in the fairy realm. The dragons laughed again. They wanted to scare Luo Bin. However, Luo Bin was mentally mature. She chose not to speak, but proved it with her actions. She came between Wu Hao and Ye Qianning and leaned against them. This close relationship had invisibly rejected the heavenly dragon king. This is a very smart move. This is a confrontation between Taixu Wonderland, she doesn't need to say much. The interest was that the Tianying Dragon King felt bored. At this time, she turned around and left, taking the people from the Tianying realm with her. After all, the Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza was right in front of her, and she didn't want others to think that she was with Tianyu. The Dragon King bullies others together. As soon as Tianying Dragon King left, Tianyu Dragon King couldn't get any advantage in words, so he turned into anger. He said to himself, "Listen to the participants in the Tianyu realm. If you see the participants in the fairy realm, give it to me, beat them to death, and give them a lesson they will remember forever. Haha, let's go." After saying that, he looked at this side coldly, and left with the many divine dragons from the Tianyu realm. In fact, even Wu Hao couldn't compete, which was obviously the biggest pain in his heart. Although many years had passed, he was still unhappy. Every time he thought about it, his heart could twist. "Brother, thank you very much. And you, thank you too. I was too impulsive today, but you guys are more sensible than me." Wu Hao relaxed and thanked Wu Jun first, so that he would not lose face, and thanked him secondly. "A wife who always follows others when they are humiliated. And my concubine, thank you for recognizing me." Wu Hao felt this happiness. When he was humiliated, his relatives stood together to defend his honor. "Father, I have had no parents since I was a child. You have been my parents in my heart for a long time," Luo Bin said softly, which was her true feelings. Wu Yu felt a little emotional. He was really happy for Luo Bin to have such a relative. However, the Yuzhao Dragon King cried nervously and hurriedly said, "What should I do? Can I withdraw now? My son cannot be bullied by them. There are so many powerful people in the imperial realm today, even those in the realm Lord God realm. If my son goes in, won't he be dead?" Even the Dragon King of Xianyi and the Dragon King of Star Territory were livid at this time, while Xuanyi, Xingling and Yu Menyuan were also trembling all over. Wu Hao was a little angry and said, "Can you stop being so spineless? Are you scared when someone scares you? Dragon Emperor Purgatory has the rules of Dragon Emperor Purgatory. They don't dare to mess around, and there is also an escape immortal formation. Really, if it doesn't work, just exit." Yuzhao Dragon King was also angry and said, "What are you talking about? You don't have a son to go in, so of course you are not afraid. It's all your fault. If you hadn't offended the Heavenly Dragon King, could you have done this?" Wu Jun said in a deep voice, "Dragon King Yuzhao, shut up. Look at what you look like now. Are you still a Dragon King?" Yuzhao Dragon King trembled and said, "You. Sure enough, a weak world is a weak one. After this challenge is over, I must apply to be transferred out of the fairy world. Following you, one day you will be destroyed by the Heavenly Dragon King. Who will not offend? You dare to offend Tianxin Dragon Emperor's son. The Dragon King is eligible to apply to leave and go to other realms." Ye Qianning continued, "Then let's go without seeing you off. Who cares about you? You are noisy all day long, just like a fly, rolling around as far as you like." She was not polite at all to Yuzhao Dragon King. "Stop embarrassing yourself." Wu Jun was a little angry, and that glare made Dragon King Yuzhao a little scared. Other Dragon Kings nearby also advised Dragon King Yuzhao to say less. Enter Wu Jun looked indifferent. He didn't expect so many things to happen before entering the arena. Looking at it now, even Xuanyi was trembling a little. It was obvious that there was no need to count on Dragon Emperor Purgatory this time, and it would be basically embarrassing to enter. He glanced at Wu Yu. Fortunately, Wu Yu didn't seem to be affected much. The same goes for Luo Bin, who looks calm and can make very appropriate actions. Those who come from the mortal world have gone through hundreds of years of training and have grown up among the weak. Their minds are different. Wu Jun sighed in his heart. He called Wu Yu in front of him and said, "I know you are good at it, but the Tianyu realm is going to go against us, so you still have to be careful." Wu Yu nodded and said, "Don't worry, Uncle Jun, I have some magical powers. I can come and go without a trace. They can't keep up with me." Wu Jun said, "Beside the Dragon King just now, his son, named Tianming, has been very powerful since he was a child. This time he has reached the Realm Master realm. He is the only one among all the participants in the battle who has reached the Realm Master realm. It is said that he is also ruthless. You have to be careful of him. Now he has a title, called Tianming Dragon Lord. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu remembered and nodded. Tianming should be the strongest in this trial. Other descendants such as the 100th and 200th Realm Dragon Kings have already won the first place in the trial, have been to the Hadalong Tower, and have obtained treasures. Now they are basically top dragon lords. Now it is Tianming's turn. In fact, 9,000 years ago, Tianming participated in the trial. At that time, he lost to the second daughter of Tianying Dragon King in the final battle and got the second place. He had the opportunity to go to Hadalong Tower for 5,000 years, but he gave up. Do you know why? It turns out that this guy had already won the second place 9,000 years ago. You can only go to Hadalong Tower once, and he will go for 10,000 years. Wu Yu guessed it easily. That's right. So this time, his goal is only the first place. If he is not the first, he will probably have to wait for another 9,000 years. Of course, he is also recognized as the first without suspense. As long as he is in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory and the scale of the Dragon Emperor Immortal formation can reach the top 4 and enter the final battle, then the first place must be stable. Understood? Wu Yu nodded. Wu Jun told him this to let him be careful of this person and prevent him from attacking people in the fairy world, not to let Wu Yu take the first place. The key is that although Wu Yu is a 9-element celestial being, he is still far from the realm of the World Master, and there is basically no possibility. The power of the ancient immortal pattern is very strong. Wu Yu should be able to fight Liu He Xianxian at most with the Buddha Yuan and the Immortal Yuan. This is already quite good. Wu Yu looked at Wu Hao, who was a little silent. No matter what, this blow to him was still a bit big, so Ye Qianing followed him to comfort him, and so did Luo Bin. It really hurts dignity. Finally, they arrived at the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square. There were dragons everywhere, and the mirror under their feet was extremely vast. Wu Jun greeted other acquaintances while leading the team to the area belonging to the Immortal Realm. The various dragons were entrenched here. From this angle, you can clearly see the entire huge and vast mirror below, and you can also see the many dragons surrounding the mirror when you look up. The Dragon King of 100 Realms, with the team of 100 Realms, took their seats one after another. Directly opposite Wu Yu and his team, that was the most important position, and the dragons of the Heavenly Will realm were in the center. On the left is the Tianying realm, on the right is the Tianyu realm, and then the 4th from the left, the 5th from the right, the 6th from the left, the 7th from the right, and the 87th is the location of the Xianling realm, so it is almost facing the Tianyu Dragon King. Although it is far away and the fairy mist is lingering in the middle, Wu Yu can still see that many dragons are laughing in the Tianyu realm, and the atmosphere is very relaxed. On the other hand, the Xianling realm is particularly serious, especially because of the Yuzhao Dragon King's disturbance. No one wants to say much, and basically has no interest in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory trial. After all, looking at the state of Xuanhuan and the others, it is known that there is unlikely to be any good performance. In addition to the Tianyi Dragon King, there will be 2 Dragon Lords from the Dragon Lord Association coming to watch the battle. They are mainly responsible for monitoring the fairness of this trial, so they are basically in the dark and will not appear directly. But they do exist. These 2 Dragon Lords are both beyond the level of Dragon Kings. Wu Jun thought of it and reminded Wu Yu again. Wu Yu knew that in addition to the 9 Dragon Emperors, the strongest beings of the Shenlong clan formed the Dragon Honor Society, and the Dragon Honor was above the Dragon King of the 100 Realms. Wu Yu looked at the sky and the earth, and he really didn't know where the 2 Dragon Honors were. However, under their noses, No one would mess around. This is also the reason why Tianyu Dragon King can't do anything wrong. In the Shenlong clan, even if it is the son of the Dragon Emperor, if he seriously breaks the rules, he will be punished by the Dragon Honor Society. In the Dragon Honor Society, they are basically old Shenlongs. At noon, amid the greetings of many Shenlongs, everyone arrived. On the far opposite side, Wu Yu saw the 100th World Dragon King, Tianyi Dragon King, who looked much more upright and more solemn, and more terrifying than his two brothers and sisters. He said in a magnificent voice, "Today is a grand event for our Tianxing clan. We, the brothers and sisters of the Tianxing clan, have gathered together to witness the rise and performance of the new generation of our Tianxing clan. The important prizes have already been announced. Children, fight for honor and rewards. Now, I won't waste any more words. All the dragons whose names are read out, come out. First, start from the Tianyi realm. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1297. The Dragon King of Heavens will recited the list. First of all, in the heavenly will realm, young girls and dragon geniuses began to gather in the Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza below. That is, heroic appearance, young success, unlimited scenery. Everyone has gone through fierce battles and selections like Xuanhuan and others before they have the opportunity to come here. In the Tianyi realm alone, there are many divine dragons, followed by the Tianying realm and the Tianyu realm. While the name was being recited and the dragon entered, Wu Yu was observing the surroundings of the Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza. First, he discovered that the snow-white mirror seemed to have a huge eye. He asked Yeqianing. Yeqianing said, "That is the eye of the Dragon Emperor. When the time comes, the trial begins. This eye of the Dragon Emperor can scan the entire Dragon Emperor purgatory, passing through many places, and often locks in key battles. Let us people outside can see it. But don't worry, the eye of the Dragon Emperor is an immortal weapon of creation, and it will basically target the top divine dragons. If you keep a low profile inside, it will basically not target you. This eye is indeed very big. When the time comes, it will probably show what it sees in the entire Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza." This made Wu Yu understand that his actions in Dragon Emperor Purgatory might be seen, so he also needed to be cautious. What about the pillar? Wu Yu saw that at the end of the square, a huge sky pillar shot up into the sky. It looked like a building, nothing special. That is the Purgatory pillar. It will not be opened until you enter. At that time, there will be more than 600 participants in the battle. The scale and strength of your Dragon Emperor Immortal formation will be determined by the strength of this Purgatory pillar position. Your name will appear on it, the highest one is of course the first. The ranking changes at any time according to the position of the Dragon Emperor Immortal formation, which is why the participants are worried that they will be ranked at the bottom. It's shameful, and of course everyone wants to be at the top. Wu Yu was stunned. He didn't expect this trick to record the size of the Dragon Emperor Immortal formation at any time to rank it. The rankings will definitely change drastically by then. Then if I don't participate, wouldn't I be ranked at the bottom? How embarrassing would that be? Wu Yu himself didn't care. He was afraid that Wu Jun and the three of them would be laughed at. Do your business first. If it can be done, you can reluctantly participate. Don't be the last one, Wu Hao said next to him. Of course he hoped that Wu Yu could give him some face, especially since the Yulong King was so arrogant that day, but he didn't know that this was impossible, so he didn't want to put any pressure on Wu Yu. Understood. The giant pillar of purgatory is equivalent to a list, very clear. Under the roll call of the Dragon King of Heavens will, the young girls and dragons were in high spirits and landed on the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square one by one. They compared with each other and formed small groups. In them, you can see the youth and passion. Many of them are "It was my first time to participate in such a grand event, and it felt like I had been given a shot. I was already sharpening my sword and waiting for the trial to begin. The fairy world. Finally, I came to the 87th fairy world. There is nothing special about the fairy world, but most people present have heard that during the entrance, there was a fierce conflict between Tianyu Dragon King and Bai Yin Dragon King of the fairy world. It seemed that they were fighting over each other. Most of the dragons present knew what happened many years ago, regarding Wu Hao, Yeqianing, and the Heavenly Dragon King. So at this time, people looked at the fairy world and then at the Tianyu world with joking eyes. Of course people know that the future life in the fairy world will obviously be even more difficult. If Wu Jun hadn't been strong enough, he might have been replaced as the Dragon King of the 100 Realms. Xuanhuan. When his name was called, Xuanhuan trembled and stood up. At this time, countless Dragon Kings and Dragon Lords all looked at him. The pressure was too great. Xingling. Yumenyuan. The faces of the three of them were all a little pale, especially from below. There were many roars of laughter coming from the dragons, which was obviously putting pressure on them. Let's go down together. Yeqian took a deep breath or two, looked at each other with the two people around him, and the three of them bravely fell into the eyes of countless dragon kings. However, the three of them only dared to stand alone on the edge, and did not dare to get close to the middle, because they were people from the three realms. The Tianxing clan is accustomed to refer to the Tianyi realm, Tianying realm, and Tianyu realm as the three major realms. They are all the sons of the Tianxin Dragon Emperor, and they are still the first, second and third. There are only three grandsons in the fairy world. No wonder the Dragon King said that the fairy world is not good. Among the 100 realms, they are almost at the bottom. Xuanyi vaguely heard a lot of ridicule, but his strength is considered low here. So he didn't dare to say anything. In the fairy world, he was indeed majestic, but when he came here, there were people stronger than him everywhere. Wu Yu. The Dragon King Tianyi paused for a moment and called out the name with some confusion. Maybe he had never heard of the name before. Go down, Wu Jun said. Wu Yu nodded. A human race, alone, quickly fell into the group of divine dragons. This scene was particularly strange to the entire Tianxing clan. Who is this? Is it a clan? In the fairy world, let an ancestor participate in the Dragon Emperor's purgatory. Are you kidding? This is. Wu Yu's appearance, although he wanted to keep a low profile as much as possible, still attracted everyone's attention and discussion. Because of Wu Yu's appearance, even Xuanyi and the others were under less pressure. Facing the strange looks of many dragon kings, countless dragon kings and other top powerhouses, Wu Yu calmed down. He quickly stood in the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square, standing silently and ignoring the pressure-filled looks. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. The atmosphere here suddenly became a little boiling. Brother, are you kidding me? A human race participates in our Dragon Emperor's purgatory trial? Has this ever happened in history? Wu Jun from the fairy world, is there something wrong with your brain, or is there really no one in the fairy world who can participate? Send a human race. Regarding Wu Jun's decision, the other Dragon Kings of the 100 Realms were inconvenient to comment, but the Dragon King of Heaven Yu was not polite at all and directly questioned it. In fact, Wu Jun thought that after so many years, Tianyu Dragon King had already married a wife and had children, so he should have forgotten about Yeqianing and Wu Hao. Unexpectedly, this time, because of the encounter before entering the venue, he and the fairy the line is on the line. Wu Jun said, this person is my disciple and is willing to serve the Immortal Dragon Emperor realm. He is already a member of my Immortal Dragon Emperor realm. He is also a member of my Immortal Spirit realm. I also gave him the Immortal Dragon Emperor order, according to the rules, as long as they are from my fairy world and are selected by me under 1 year of age, they are all eligible to participate. The Heavenly Will Dragon King has already approved it, so don't bother the Heavenly Dragon King. Although there is no precedent for this, it does not seem to be prohibited. After all, there are still many immortals working here in the immortal Dragon Emperor realm, the most common of which are the Taoist companions of Shenlong. However, generally, those who become Taoist monks must be over 1 yuan old, so they are unlikely to come to the Dragon Emperor Purgatory, so there seems to be no precedent. Wu Jun had just finished speaking when another Dragon King of the 100 Realms spoke. The voice came from not far from the Fairy Realm, which is the territory of the Xianmeng realm. The Dragon King of the Xianmeng realm is a woman. Xinlong, Xianmeng realm is next door to the Fairy realm. The lofty and holy Dragon King of the Xianmeng realm interjected, "What disciple? Dragon King of the immortal spirit realm, let's be honest. I heard that your brother, Dragon King Bai Yin, recently received an ancient immortal spirit dragon that had just ascended from the mortal world. This is a gratifying thing. After all, it is a miracle that the ultimate dragon can be born in the mortal world. But I also heard that this adopted daughter, Luo Bin, already has a Taoist companion in the mortal world, and they become a Taoist couple together. Immortal, the Taoist couple finally found the immortal Dragon Emperor realm, and it must be Wu Yu, the participant. Previously, the news about Wu Yu had spread to several surrounding realms. It was normal for the Dragon King of Xianmeng realm to hear about it. She is considered to be the one who has a slightly worse relationship with the Dragon King of the Fairy world among the several Dragon Kings of the 100 worlds around her. But generally speaking, one would not offend Wu Jun by telling the truth at this time. Yet Qianing was a little angry and said, "This bitch is just seeing the heavenly Dragon King targeting us and wants to please him." The thoughts of the Dragon King of Xianmeng realm are naturally known to everyone. In this way, everyone knows about Wu Yu and Luo Bin. At this time, almost everyone's eyes were on the two of them. Even Luo Bin was under tremendous pressure, but it was Ye Qianing who protected her. Indecent. Indecent. Ultimate divine dragon? Just ascended? A Taoist companion in the mortal world? An immortal? Just ascended, and it is only equivalent to a young dragon. These days, the ultimate divine dragon, who is a young dragon, can also have an immortal companion. It's really funny, ridiculous, shameful, and an embarrassment to our immortal Dragon Emperor realm. Who allowed Wu Yu to enter the immortal Dragon Emperor realm? And asked him to participate in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory trial. What problem is there in Wu Jun? Is there something wrong with his brain? For a moment, both the Dragon King and the Dragon Lord felt a little incredible, and even couldn't help but curse. The heavenly Dragon King laughed loudly and said, "The fairy world is really enlightening. Two ancient fairy dragons are combined, but they can't produce a descendant. It's a waste. I'm lucky now. I have an adopted daughter." Thinking that there is an immortal Taoist companion at such a young age, he is also the unparalleled dragon. It seems that the ancient immortal spirit dragon is really planning to be extinct. After all, it is the ultimate dragon. It is a pity. The combination of dragons might give birth to the eternal heavenly heart dragon. We have so many young talents in the ancient immortal life dragon, so everyone wonders if this brother Wu Jun and Wu Hao are born with brain disabilities. When the heavenly Dragon King said this, he was so unscrupulous that many Dragon Kings burst into laughter. For a while, even the participants in the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square were laughing loudly, looking at Wu Yu with strange eyes, and tooting. Wu Hao's face turned blue. In fact, all this was instigated by the heavenly Dragon King. He wanted to kill him now. However, he knew that this was impossible. Because the Tianxing clan is the world of their three brothers and sisters. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 1298. This roar of laughter really made other voices laugh so hard that their stomachs hurt. Tianyu Dragon King was scolded by Wu Jun, and of course he held a grudge. At this time, it can be said that he was extremely happy. Only a few of the other dragon kings of the 100 realms have a good relationship with Wu Jun, and can be said to be friends. Others have a normal relationship, and of course they are the sons of the Tianxin Dragon Emperor. Now yes, Xuanyi and the three of them all regretted participating in the war on behalf of the fairy world. People around them began to laugh at them and push them, but they could only lower their heads and accept the anger. The atmosphere in the fairy world is so debauched. It has something to do with the people who are in charge. Why don't you behave a little bit? This is ugly, Tianyu Dragon King sneered. There was another burst of laughter. People think that the Heavenly Dragon King is too cheap, but they like it. After all, they also think that it is ridiculous to let the 1-year-old ultimate dragon be with a foreign immortal. Wu Yu was originally in a normal mood. But at this time, there was also an evil fire in my heart. The other party had gone too far. I will not offend anyone unless they offend me. If someone offends me, I will repay him 3 times. Seeing that Wu Hao was confused by anger, even the good-tempered Ye Qianing was full of anger at this time, so Wu Jun could still calm down, but as the Dragon King of the 100 realms, facing these jokes, this is also a shame and a big humiliation, enough to make him he will never be able to lift his head again. Any little dragon could taunt him. Wu Yu didn't want to show off in Dragon Emperor Purgatory, but now, he is so angry that it is really unbearable, because it is Luo Bin who is being laughed at. Luo Bin is very confused now, she must be very depressed and in pain, and these people, she is so sad. For Wu Yu, it was unbearable. Every laugh was like gunpowder, squeezing into his chest. It might not burst out now, but there would always be a time when it would burst out. That's enough, don't laugh. I agreed to Wu Yu's participation when the laughter was about to end. The Dragon King Tianyi scolded him. His authority was the most powerful. For a moment, the dragons suppressed their laughter. Came down, but actually I was still suppressing a smile. Brother, why? Tianyu Dragon King asked with a smile. It complies with the rules. There is no reason. Disciples of the Dragon King of the Immortal Spirit Realm can indeed participate as long as they have the Immortal Dragon Emperor's order, the Dragon King of Heavens will said calmly. The Immortal Dragon Emperor's order is indeed Shenlong's recognition of the Immortals. With the Immortal Dragon Emperor's order, it is equivalent to being a member of the Shenlong clan and working for the Shenlong clan. God's Will Dragon King reviewed everything in full compliance with the rules. The Heavenly Dragon King was slightly unhappy. Let him participate. It's not a big deal. How can he take the first place from your son? The Sky Shadow Dragon King next to him rolled his eyes. That's right, I'm not the one who made a fool of myself, haha. Tianyu Dragon King figured it out. However, Wu Jun said loudly at this time, the Heavenly Dragon King is right. Wu Yu and Binner did have a love in the mortal world. This is their fate. It is also a good story that the two of them worked together to cultivate immortality. Now Binner is here. When you go to the Immortal Dragon Emperor realm, you must follow the rules of the Immortal Dragon Emperor realm. I will not hold a wedding for them if they are underage, but I support them. As for you who may think that Wu Yu is not worthy of the ultimate dragon, at least not as good as him. Ancient Immortal Fate Dragon is suitable. No matter what you think, time will give you the answer. You may be embarrassed by today's laughter. He said it very appropriately and had a counterattack. Yes, time will tell. In fact, this is the highest praise for Wu Yu. Before saying this, who didn't regard Wu Yu as a fool? But now, it seems that this young man's face has not changed from the beginning, and even the overwhelming ridicule has not made him unable to control himself, or being as trembling as Xuanyi and the others is an extraordinary thing in itself. The Heavenly Dragon King's eyes widened. Are you saying, Wu Yu is still very capable? A god who came from the mortal world? Don't laugh me to death, okay? He stared at Wu Yu. Everyone is watching, and now all the pressure is on Wu Yu. Tianyu Dragon King laughed and said, It turns out to be just an immortal. Congratulations to you, Wu Jun, for breaking the limit of the 9 major clans to participate in the Dragon Emperor's Purgatory. In history, there are no immortals who participated in the Dragon Emperor's Purgatory. I think come out, you old fox, but you want to kill this young man from the human race in this way. Everyone burst into laughter again. In their eyes, Wu Yu was a huge wretch. It's funny no matter how you look at it. Stop talking, it's a waste of time now. Tianyi Dragon King was a little dissatisfied. With his eyes widened, Tianyi Dragon King shut up. Others felt that the atmosphere was serious and did not dare to laugh more. Although they still suppressed laughter in their hearts, they thought, how could a majestic Dragon King of the immortal realm be so funny? The Dragon King of Heavens will begin to recite other names, and no one dared to interrupt him now. However, most of the people were still looking at Wu Yu. They wanted to see how scared the poor guy was, but they found that his face was indifferent and there was nothing wrong with him. Are you Wu Yu? Suddenly someone called from behind him. When he turned around, he saw a group of people from the Tianyi realm. There were also Tianyi realm and Tianying realm behind them. They were coming this way, and everyone else had to give way. The person speaking is the ancient immortal fate dragon next to Tianyi Dragon King. He is the son of Tianyi Dragon King, known as Tianming Dragon King. It is said that in his last trial, he only lost the final battle and got second place. However, he did not go to Haolong Tower. Instead, he gave up the opportunity and participated again. He was the only one in the world Lord God realm. The son of the heavenly Dragon King is so influenced by his ears and eyes, how different his character can be. Any advice? Wu Yu asked. The other party smiled faintly, and he looked quite handsome. He looked in the direction of the fairy world and said, I heard from my grandfather that the combination of the ancient fairy dragon and the ancient fairy dragon has a certain possibility of giving birth to an eternal heart dragon. That is the most outstanding bloodline of my dragon clan. For many years, I have been waiting for the appearance of the ancient fairy dragon. Now it appears. Although she is still young, I will wait for her to grow up. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. The Lord of Heavenly Destiny said. Wu Yu smiled. It turned out that there was still someone he wanted to rob. He said, I'm afraid that when she grows up, your life will be gone. The dragons around were shocked. Wu Yu dared to threaten the Lord of Heavenly Destiny. This tit-for-tat posture, a fairy dared to do it? Wu Yu's words made them feel cold from the soles of their feet. In the entire Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza, no one dared to talk to the Lord of Heavenly Destiny like this. Not to mention a fairy. Even the Heavenly Fate Dragon Lord himself was a little stunned. If it wasn't inconvenient to kill people here, he would have dared to kill Wu Yu in one go. But he still held back and laughed, saying, it turns out that he is just like Wu Jun, a fool. Everyone listen carefully. In the Dragon Emperor Purgatory, whoever encounters this fool, notify me and I will reward you with a creation god pill to help you reach the realm of the Lord of the Realm in the future. If you can catch him in front of me, I will give you an immortal talisman of good fortune. Good. The dragons were boiling with excitement, cheering one after another, looking at Wu Yu with fiery eyes, as if in their eyes, Wu Yu had now transformed into the god of creation pill and the immortal talisman of good fortune, and was no longer a human being. When the time comes, you will enjoy the hospitality of our dragon clan as a host. The heavenly fate dragon lord smiled at Wu Yu. Oh, then you have to take out some real treasures. Just one creation pill is not enough to buy a hair of mine. Wu Yu did not lose the upper hand in this confrontation. The other party smiled, and he also smiled, but what Tianming Longjun wanted to see was his fear. Wu Yu was not afraid. He was a giant beast that swallowed the sky. He would not be afraid when facing Tianyu Longwang. Even if he was just a young tiger and Tianyu Longwang was an elephant, he was not afraid. Because he was a carnivore and Tianyu Longwan was a herbivore. The entire Tiangong immortal realm was a world of herbivores for Wu Yu. They attracted the immortal energy of heaven and earth, just like eating grass. And Wu Yu ate them. Haha, Tianming Longjun must have been angry in his heart because he did not suppress Wu Yu. And in front of so many people, a mere immortal dared to confront him. It was a great shame. But he could endure it because he knew that when he arrived at the Dragon Emperor Purgatory, it would be his world. At this moment, the heavenly Will Dragon King finally finished chanting, and all the more than 600 participants came to the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square. Wu Yu, you have hurt us so much, Yu Menyuan was still trembling. Maybe we will have to use the escape immortal formation as soon as we enter Xingling's side. It's really boring to be a dragon in the fairy world. My mother wants to leave, and I have to leave too, Yu Menyuan said. Wu Yu ignored them. Wu Jun said that time will give the answer. He also believed it. Because time gave him and Haoshan Shangxian the answer. Time also gave him and Yanhuang Ancient Emperor the answer. Next, the heavenly Will Dragon King personally unified and integrated the Dragon Emperor Immortal Formation and the Escape Immortal Formation into each participant. The Escape Immortal Formation can be used on any part of the body and can only be used once. And the Dragon Emperor Immortal Formation is on the dragon horn. The heavenly Will Dragon King was very fast. He flashed past more than 600 people, and the two great immortal formations were on everyone. At the beginning, the scale of all the Dragon Emperor immortal formations was the same. This was supervised by two hidden dragon masters. It is said that they were the Heavenly Yu Dragon Master and the Fire Pattern Dragon Master, one from the Tianxing clan and the other from the Fire clan. In a blink of an eye, it was Wu Yu's turn. The heavenly Will Dragon King appeared in front of him like this. This vast and terrifying ancient immortal dragon was indeed very scary, and his eyes were obviously much deeper than the other two ancient immortal dragons. Stretch out your hand, the other party said. Wu Yu stretched out his arm. With a whoosh, a white immortal formation appeared on Wu Yu's arm, sticking to it and unable to be removed. This is the Dragon Emperor Immortal Formation. The other Escape Immortal Formation is on the back. When facing danger, it can be used instantly to return to the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square. After it was over, it was time to enter the Dragon Emperor Purgatory. Wu Yu, just to find that voice. Today there are 3 chapters. The third update will be at 18:00. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 1299. Wait for me to come back. Wu Yu looked at the high platform in the distance, where Luo Bin was. Act calmly. I'll wait for you. Luo Bin's voice always brought strength to Wu Yu. She has seen the world. In fact, today's humiliation may not really shake her belief. She just felt really uncomfortable seeing Wu Hao and the others being bullied like this. Are you worried about him? Ye Qianing asked. Don't worry too much. He has experienced much greater tests than now and has won them all, Luo Bin said with a smile. It's not easy at such a young age. She rolled her eyes at Wu Hao and said, you can learn from young people and be able to keep calm. Wu Hao was thoughtful. As they watched, the first level of Dragon Emperor's Purgatory was opened. On the mirror surface of the Dragon Emperor Supreme Square, a yellow vortex appeared. All the participants in the battle were in this position, and they immediately sank. When all the participants entered, the mirror returned to normal, and then the eye of the Dragon Emperor could be seen moving. Suddenly, an impression similar to the real environment appeared on the mirror, and people could clearly see the thick yellow mist in the Dragon Emperor's Purgatory. In the mist, a divine dragon was falling, and then stabilized its body. It was the Destiny Dragon Lord. The Dragon Emperor's eyes locked on him from the beginning. This is what many divine dragons are most concerned about. On this mirror, through this three-dimensional image, almost everything happening around him can be seen. Then, the giant pillar of purgatory also shone, and names appeared on it one by one, arranged from top to bottom. At this time, everyone's Dragon Emperor immortal formation has not changed yet, so they are directly arranged according to their realm and estimated strength. You can see that the name Destiny is high up. From the top, you can see all the mountains and small ones. Looking down, you can see that the penultimate person is Xuanhuan from the fairy world. If he wasn't ranked last, Xuanhuan was recognized as the weakest. And the last one, without a doubt, is the only immortal Wu Yu. From the World Lord Divine Realm to the 9 Yuan Celestial Immortal, the span of this Dragon Emperor's purgatory is almost the largest. This ranking also made everyone laugh, because everyone's name was preceded by the world they came from. For example, in the first few dozen, you can see a series of Tianyi Realm, Tianying Realm, and Tianyu Realm. For example, the first one is Tianyu Realm and Destiny. And at the end, there are 2 fairy realms in a row, and a dozen or so places above, you can find another fairy realm, Xingling. There are 4 people in total, 3 of them are counting down. They are indeed outstanding in the world of immortals. Yexian is the first and 5th Xianxian, and there are dozens of people below, so they are not too outstanding. He is the only hope in the fairy world. Of course Wu Yu didn't care about the giant pillar of purgatory outside. He was not affected by off-field factors. After coming in, his only thought was to find the person who spoke to him. Dragon Emperor Purgatory. After they came in, they were separated. Wu Yu was alone now, and there were no other dragons around. The entire Dragon Emperor Purgatory was submerged in the dim yellow mist. This mist was a little putrid and a little dirty. There was very little immortal energy in it. It was a disgusting dry place. Under this dim yellow mist, it was difficult to see into the distance, and there seemed to be countless dust floating in the sky. He landed on the ground. It was basically a barren mountain, with many deep, dark ravines that were bottomless, and some lakes with black water, or rancid oceans full of corpses, which were unbearable. It is simply a place of death, purgatory indeed. However, it is indeed boundless and seems to have no end. When Wu Yu used the magic of heaven and earth, his body was just like an ordinary person's little finger, and his speed was terrifying. Compared with those huge dragons, he was so small now that he was almost invisible. This makes it easier for him to move. He looked around at the world around him and said softly, "Senior, I am the successor of the great sage Kishan in your mouth. I have come to Dragon Emperor Purgatory. Where are you? Where should I find you? Or, can you give me what instructions?" After he finished speaking, he quietly waited for a response. If the other party is eagerly waiting for him, he should respond at this time. Facing such a presence, Wu Yuki was a little nervous. "Senior." But unfortunately, after waiting for a long time, there was no response. This made Wu Yu a little confused. Why didn't he just show up when he was asked to come here? Do he still have to look for it? "I'm already here, what should I do next?" Wu Yu continued to talk to the people around him. He didn't know where the other party was anyway, so he just spoke to the air. However, after trying hundreds of times, there was still no response while transferring. On the contrary, one can vaguely hear the sounds of other divine dragons fighting with the death prisoners. The prisoners of the Dragon Emperor Purgatory are all trapped in the Dragon Emperor prison. The Dragon Emperor prison is hidden. You must first find the hidden Dragon Emperor prison. At this time, you can first see the life of the prisoners. The realm and combat power can estimate the strength of the opponent's Purgatory Immortal formation. If you think it can be dealt with, use the Dragon Emperor Immortal formation to open the prison and go into fight with the prisoners. If you kill the prisoners, you can get the Purgatory Immortal formation and strengthen the Dragon Emperor Immortal formation. If they are defeated by the prisoner's Purgatory Immortal formation will be stronger, and they can also escape from the Dragon Emperor prison and start hunting down the combatants. They don't know what scale their Purgatory Immortal formation needs to reach, so in order to leave here, they need to constantly look for combatants to fight during this year. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. I believe that all the dragons who came in are now looking for the Dragon Emperor prison. The Dragon Emperor prison is indeed very hidden and difficult to find. But what Wu Yu is looking for now is the existence of that voice, so he didn't pay attention to it. Otherwise, with his 100,000 clones, the probability of success in the search would definitely exceed that of everyone else. The lawless clone is a very scary divine power of the heavenly way. Each of its clones is equivalent to Wu Yu's body and can be manipulated freely, which is equivalent to Wu Yu having 100,000 eyes everywhere. Of course, he doesn't care about the Dragon Emperor prison now, so he didn't split out 100,000 clones, because that would be too high profile. One day passed. Wu Yu knew that just waiting for the other party to respond might be hopeless. I guess I have to find it myself. So, he started his journey. After all, there was still a year left. He was not in a hurry, and he did not use his best skills, but wandered around. His eyes were fiery and he turned upside down, looking everywhere, cleaning up wherever he passed by. The next day, Wu Yu found a Dragon Emperor prison in a cave deep in the abyss. A woman was imprisoned inside, who was a ghost god, at the level of 7 UN heavenly ghost. According to the description, it seemed that she had killed a child of the Shenlong clan. For the Shenlong clan, killing a child was a serious crime, and the other party seemed to have killed a lot of them, and used the corpses of young dragons to practice some kind of method. It was indeed a serious sin. After all, the Shenlong clan also cared about public opinion. If it was not a real death row prisoner, they would not put it in this Dragon Emperor purgatory. In fact, this trial was also the trial of the most criminal, but it also gave a chance to escape. Wu Yu did not touch her. He had no intention to think about the Dragon Emperor immortal formation. He was thinking about why the person who was waiting for him in the Dragon Emperor purgatory had not appeared yet. He continued to search. Occasionally, he encountered the Dragon Emperor prison, but he was too lazy to go in. Although the other dragons were like crazy, looking for the prison everywhere, there were still many immortals here, which they could deal with. In fact, many people were looking for Wu Yu for a creation pill. However, it was much more difficult to find Wu Yu than to find the Dragon Emperor prison. Even if Wu Yu passed by them quickly, they might not be able to see him. Once, Wu Yu saw the heavenly Fate Dragon King. He seemed to be fighting with a very strong dragon, but Wu Yu did not look carefully and left directly. A little upset. Where is he? In 10 days, he searched many places, even encountered several Dragon Emperor prisons, but there was still no news. In 20 days, Wu Yu encountered many of the 600 dragon fighters. He searched many places, but still couldn't find any special places. He continued to search, and as time went by, his patience was also disappearing, because he felt a little fooled. Where is the person who knows that he is the successor of the great sage equaling heaven? Since I'm here, I can't give up, continue. He moved swiftly, and his eyes were very vicious. He scanned many places. After all, there was still a long time to say it now. A month. He sat on a rock and thought. Let me in, but don't show up, what does it mean? Or, is he trapped in a certain place and can only say one thing to me, and can't say it now, so I can only wait until I find him? Could he be a prisoner in the Dragon Emperor's prison? But this is the first level of the Dragon Emperor's purgatory, which only imprisons beings below the realm master realm. How could those below the realm master realm know that I am the successor of the great sage equaling heaven, and how could they have the ability to transmit the voice to let me in this dragon emperor's purgatory? Wu Yu couldn't figure it out. However, he was not discouraged and decided to look for it again. Anyway, there was still time. As soon as he stood up, he was suddenly spotted by a murderous intent. He quickly dodged the attack and looked back. A middle-aged ghost cultivator stared at him blankly and muttered, "Can a celestial being avoid my assassination?" This ghost cultivator was covered in blood. He had obviously just experienced a battle. It looked like the fight was very tragic. He escaped by luck and began to hide. However, he seemed to see Wu Yu appear here. He wanted to strengthen his purgatory immortal formation, so of course he targeted Wu Yu. This was a 3-in-1 mysterious ghost with 3 ancient immortal patterns. His strength was not bad, but he was a little injured now. However, he still refused to give in. He held an ancient immortal weapon and immediately killed him. Go to hell. Shenlong clan. He actually thought Wu Yu was from the Shenlong clan and that he had changed into a human form. Coincidentally, Wu Yu also wanted to see how the Dragon Emperor immortal formation was strengthened. This guy actually came to his door, so he was not polite. 10 breaths later, Wu Yu devoured him. The opponent's purgatory immortal formation was integrated into Wu Yu's Dragon Emperor immortal formation. As expected, the Dragon Emperor immortal formation became more complicated. Others are working hard to strengthen this immortal formation. Wu Yu sighed. Suddenly, 2 dragons flashed in front and saw the expansion of Wu Yu's Dragon Emperor immortal formation. You stole our prey. The 2 dragons widened their eyes and looked at Wu Yu angrily. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 1300. The 2 dragons, one blue and one purple, one male and one female, suddenly appeared in front of Wu Yu. They were obviously following the ghost cultivator from before. The purple dragon was not big, but it had a pair of huge purple wings. The feathers on the wings were sharp short swords. The small swords were combined into huge wings, which were extremely sharp. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. From Wu Yu's memory, this should be the purple mysterious sword feather dragon. There was also a green dragon, which was obviously a male, with a relatively large body and green dragon scales all over his body, which was very dazzling. The most obvious thing was that there was a single horn on its forehead. The single horn was like a spear, sticking out long and extremely sharp. When people saw it, they felt like they were pierced. The green light on it was shining, which was quite scary. This was the green mysterious heart-piercing dragon. The 2 dragons acted together and killed the enemy together. It was obvious that they had a good relationship. Wu Yu saw that the Dragon Emperor immortal formation on the dragon horn of the purple profound sword feather dragon was already quite powerful. However, the Dragon Emperor immortal formation on the dragon horn of the green profound thorn heart dragon was much larger than Wu Yu's, but it was still far behind that of the purple profound sword feather dragon. Wu Yu understood their strategy. The green profound thorn heart dragon made a sacrifice for the beauty and let the purple profound sword feather dragon absorb most of the Dragon Emperor immortal formation. In this way, the purple profound sword feather dragon's ranking would obviously be high, and he was dedicating himself. The prey they almost got was now snatched away by Wu Yu. Of course, they were quite angry. Especially when they saw that the person who snatched the prey was Wu Yu. "It's you," the 2 dragons shouted at the same time, and there was a little ferocity in their eyes. Obviously, Wu Yu was equivalent to the creation god pill and the fortune immortal talisman. Wu Yu had some impression of them, because when the Dragon King of Xianmeng realm spoke before, he saw the 2 of them next to him. It was the Dragon King of Xianmeng realm who told the story of Wu Yu and Luo Ben, which made many dragons laugh. If she hadn't said it, the impact this time wouldn't be so great. Xianmeng realm, Wu Yu asked tentatively. The Qingxian heart-piercing dragon sneered, and while talking, he moved to the back of Wu Yu and said, "Yes, you also asked about us, Wu Yu. If you steal our prey, you have to pay a price anyway, understand?" The purple Xian sword feather dragon in front smiled and continued, "If you don't move, you can suffer less, and we can easily send you to the Dragon Lord of Destiny in exchange for a creation pill, which is the reward you have to pay for stealing our prey." "What if I don't, anyway?" Since he hasn't found that existence for the time being, Wu Yu will naturally bear a grudge, so he will play with them at this time. Qingxian piercing heart dragon said with a smile, "Then we will just escort you there without being polite. If you don't obey, you will only suffer more." Zixuan sword feather dragon said, "Of course, this little bit of suffering is nothing. You will know what suffering is when you are in the hands of the heavenly destiny dragon lord. Later, you will lose the ancient fairy dragon and be driven out of the fairy dragon empire." Watching the woman called Lupin being taken by the heavenly destiny dragon lord, "The suffering in your heart is really suffering?" Wu Yu asked with a smile. "I said, you are a woman, why are you talking so disgustingly?" Zixuan sword feather dragon said, "I am telling the truth. You will experience it well next. Brother Qingxian, don't move. I can take him down by myself. You, a celestial being, can stay here for such a long time. You are really lucky. You must have hidden a lot. If we hadn't beaten that ghost god half to death, it wouldn't be your turn to pick up the leak. They all have 5 ancient fairy patterns of Tao. It's normal for them not to take Wu Yu seriously." At this time, the purple profound sword feather dragon was also a little absent-minded. He was talking to the green profound thorn heart dragon while trying to capture Wu Yu. Lifeless blood lightning. She had never thought that Wu Yu's move would be so swift. He swung his hand, and suddenly there was a terrifying blood-colored thunder, which fiercely formed a huge blood-colored lightning ball, covering the purple profound sword feather dragon. Then the thunder exploded, and the blood-colored thunder was like a spike, madly drilling towards the purple profound sword feather dragon. Ah, the terrifying power of thunder made the purple profound sword feather dragon curl up in astonishment and scream in pain. She looked at Wu Yu with extremely horrified eyes and wanted to resist, but the severe pain and tearing were already destroying her flesh and bones. Under this overwhelming magical power, she could only use the escape immortal formation while screaming. Otherwise, she would die. Whoosh! In an instant, the purple profound sword feather dragon was wiped out under Wu Yu's attack. It was obvious that he had not expected it and was desperate when he used the escape immortal formation. And when all this happened, the green profound heart-piercing dragon was still in a daze. "It's your turn. Go back and tell your Xianmeng Realm Dragon King that it was me, Wu Yu, who sent you out. Tell her to stop gossiping and shut her mouth next time." Wu Yu turned around and looked at the green profound heart-piercing dragon with a pair of cold eyes. "You're looking for death," the green profound heart-piercing dragon was furious. He still didn't understand the situation, but it didn't matter. Wu Yu used his magical power again. This was the blazing mirror of the spirit realm demon tree. A mirror blocked Wu Yu's eyes, and the dazzling light instantly engulfed the green profound heart-piercing dragon. AHH! The green profound heart-piercing dragon twisted in the light and screamed. The green dragon scales on his body were shattered, and his flesh and blood were almost exposed. He was considered to have a strong willpower, but in the face of absolute power, he could only scream and had no resistance at all. "You! How can you be so strong?" Qingxian piercing heart dragon screamed. In response to him, Wu Yu's cold and calm eyes. Escape immortal formation. Before he died, he finally made a decision and triggered the escape immortal formation, otherwise he would be crushed by Wu Yu and die here easily. To deal with them, with Wu Yu's current strength, he simply used 2 magical powers. His Bodhi Immortal Yuan and 9-phase Vajra Buddha Yuan are now extremely powerful. Adding them together, Not counting magical powers, they are not much different from the 5-in-1 profound immortal. Even this top-level dragon. However, Wu Yu's room for improvement is still quite huge. The surroundings have become empty. For the first time, Wu Yu showed his fighting power to let the dragons see. Dragon Emperor Supreme Plaza. More than a month has passed. The top dragon kings and dragon kings from all realms present here chatted and laughed while paying attention to the ranking changes of the purgatory pillars and occasionally looked at the battle scenes presented by the Dragon Emperor's Eye. The Dragon Emperor's Eye specifically selects those top dragons that people are interested in, such as the Heavenly Fate Dragon King. He specializes in killing those top prisoners. Every time it is a big battle. He has no opponents in the realm of the Lord God, and the killing is quite rapid. In just 1 month, his Dragon Emperor Immortal formation has grown to an incredible level. Every time they fight, the pressure makes many Dragon Kings admire. He is indeed the son of Tianyu Dragon King. He was the second in the last Dragon Emperor Purgatory. This time, the first place is definitely his. Last time, he was still a 9-combination immortal, and he got the second place. There are several other 9-combination immortals, which are also quite good. But compared with Tianming Dragon King, they are still a little worse. On the Purgatory Pillar, now at the top, the name that shines the most and makes many dragons happy is that, Tianyu Realm, Tianming. Arranged downwards, at the beginning, the ranking was a little confusing. Tianming was not the first, but he rushed to the first place on the second day, and has not fallen behind now. From the ranking, the dragons know that the gap between Tianming and others has been getting bigger and bigger. He is now absolutely a leader, far ahead. Of course, the top 10 are basically as expected by everyone. They are basically 9-combination immortals, those famous young people of the Tianxing clan. The entire ranking is very reasonable as expected by everyone. Tianyu Dragon King was completely relieved. He was always laughing and chatting with the people around him. He was not worried at all. Occasionally, he looked at the bottom of the Purgatory Pillar and couldn't help but laugh with many other Dragon Kings in the direction of the fairy world. Because the bottom of the Purgatory Pillar was arranged like this. Fourth from the bottom, fairy world, Xuanhuan. Third from the bottom, fairy world, Xinling. Second from the bottom, fairy world, Yumenyuan. First from the bottom, fairy world, Wu Yu. This arrangement is quite neat. It's just like the top Tianyu world, Tianyi world, and Tianying world. One is in the sky, and the other is on the ground. As long as this ranking does not change, I believe they can laugh for a year, especially since they like to say some unpleasant words. If this goes on, I think the Immortal Realm will not participate next time. It's too embarrassing. Not even as good as the 100th ranked realm, haha. What has the Immortal Realm been doing all these years? How come each generation is worse than the previous one? This is simply a huge joke. You are so ashamed to be sitting here. If it were me, I would have left without the face to see anyone. There are many people flattering the Dragon King of Tianyu now. Only Wu Jun's good friends remain neutral. Others who have nothing to do with Wu Jun have basically joined the ranks of sarcasm. Of course, Wu Hao and Ye Qianing were also ridiculed. So, in the past month, Wu Jun was silent, Wu Hao was livid, and Ye Qianing was helpless and shook her head. Don't worry about Wu Yu. He should just not be interested in this trial. It means that he has changed in another way. Luo Bin was relatively calm because she knew Wu Yu. She knew that the reason why he ranked last was indeed because he was not interested. Of course, others did not think so. With Xuanyi's strength, it's impossible for him to be fourth from the bottom. It must be because of Wu Yu's matter that everyone bullied the immortal spirit world, Xianyi Dragon King said. Xingyu Dragon King said, it can only be like this, otherwise Xingling would not be third from the bottom. He obviously doesn't dare to show up in the Dragon Emperor Purgatory, so how can he take the trial? Yuzhao Dragon King sighed and said, I have long felt that letting Wu Yu participate in the war is completely disregarding the face of our immortal spirit world. It's just. Aren't you going to leave the immortal spirit world? Don't care about the face of the immortal spirit world. It has nothing to do with you. Ye Qianing rolled her eyes at her.